Okay, here with film entrepreneur, distributor extraordinaire, Mr. Doug Schwab. This is part of the Reflections of a Black Filmmaker, ABFF diary. And so we're going to sit down here with Doug Schwab and ask him a few questions about what he does and how does that affect filmmakers, and particularly talk about black filmmakers too. So, Doug, when did you start your business, and tell us about a little bit about how things got started? Because at one time I know you were partnered with another company. So, when did you start the business?
I've been in the business all my life, essentially. I left Blockbuster in 1997, started with another company back then, partnering to put things out. So essentially, Maverick has been formed since '97, so we're 13 years old. Since then, we've released over 500 films, and our roots are within the African American community and African American products.
Now, why do you think? Now, there's a lot of filmmakers that come back and do repeat business with you. Why do you think that is?
Well, we like to say they're happy that they see our effort. They know that we really get behind our films. We don't just give a lot of lip service to our buyers or our producers. We call it like it is, and we try to roll with the punches. There's a lot of companies out there that maybe put out 30, 40, 50, 60 titles in a given month, and I'm talking about mini majors and bigger of a company. We've always specialized and put out 4 movies at a time because we know the appetite of what our customers can handle. Because it would be easy for me to sign up 8, 10, 12 movies a month, but then I would have maybe 4 to 6 unhappy producers every month. And bad word of mouth will kill you at that point, saying, well, Doug Schwab of Maverick Entertainment didn't do my film right. He didn't get it placed. So that's why we're selective in what we take. That's why we don't force feed titles down our buyers' throats. We handle it. We basically know what the level of support will be for our type of films, and we take it easy. I mean, we go about it much slower than being greedy and saying we can be everything to everybody, which nobody really can. Nobody can do.
Now, a couple of months ago, I discovered a seminar that you guys had on YouTube where you actually talked to filmmakers. That was really kind of unique because a lot of people don't do that. Do you think it's important to try to educate the filmmaking community?
I think it's always been important to educate the filmmaking community because just like filmmakers are basically only as good as a distributor that believes in them, and distributors are only as good as the retailers that buy from us and the retailers that buy from us. So we listen to every single word our buyers say, be it Blockbuster, Redbox, Walmart, Best Buy, now Hulu and iTunes. We listen to everything they say. And when they talk to us, they say, well, Doug, we'll take this film this time, but we really don't need any more like that. We need more of this, or we need more of that, or we need less of this, or we need less of that. And when we hear that, we go back and tell the filmmakers exactly what we heard. So it's not getting lost between layers and layers and layers of bureaucracy at other companies. It's coming straight from the horse's mouth, and that's why we feel we can react quicker to changes in the marketplace.
Now, you just brought up changes in the marketplace, and that brings about a couple of discussions that deal with how things are moving in the video market. DVD sales on the decline, but some would say dead, but others just say on the decline. And Blu-ray disc sales seem to be a little flat. What's your general idea of the trends, where we are, and where things are going with product?
The trends are a tough thing to explain because most of the time it comes off as me saying just a doom and gloom scenario, but it isn't really a total doom and gloom scenario down the line. The problem is we're between 2 types of business model. What everybody was comfortable with, including myself and probably you, Greg, is the way that we used to do business. We'd make a film, a distributor would pay you for the film, we'd put the film out, and customers would pay us. And we'd go to the Blockbusters, to the Walmarts, to the Best Buys, and they'd pay us. Now it's not that easy anymore. As you know, Blockbuster has had a lot of stores that closed recently. Hollywood Video Chain has closed their operations. And that's a direct result of people being comfortable with getting movies delivered at home now through a Netflix, or people being comfortable to rent through a kiosk machine like from Redbox. What happens is competition is a good thing in America, but in our industry, it's almost like it's having a negative effect. So it's creating opportunities for some people, but on the other hand, it's making us think of ways that we have to reinvent ourselves. Now, the digital frontier is the next landscape that we also learn to conquer. It was easy to get our films. It wasn't ever easy, but it was easier to get your films in the brick and mortar stores, and people would walk in, and you have 50 to 100 million people that would go every month to stores and see your movie there on a shelf. Now we're still placing those same movies at all the key digital players, such as YouTube, Hulu, and iTunes, and everybody else out there that's just delivering movies digitally. But now it's more of a challenge for the filmmaker and the consumer to find where that movie is. So instead of having a new release wall to say, hey, there's my movie, now there's 20,000 movies floating in cyberspace, and you have to find a customer and tell the customer this is how you find that movie. So there's a lot more challenges, and a lot of it falls back to digital and viral and social marketing.
When you talk about those different marketing campaigns, can you give an example of how you would do a movie, let's say, 5 years ago in the heyday of DVD versus how you might do a movie now?
Well, 5 years ago in the heyday of DVD, you'd buy an ad traditionally at distribution. You let distributors know about it so that they could sell to their mom and pops. You would go and sell directly to the brick and mortar customers, and they would put it on the wall. In a sense of urban films, as we're here at the American Black Film Festival, in a sense of an urban film, we would buy ads in the Source at the time, XXL, King, and so forth. Now it's more of a matter of finding a way to virally target that consumer, that hey, your movie's on iTunes, or hey, your movie's on Google, or hey, your movie's here, because it isn't like they can walk out and see it at the Blockbuster next to their store, because maybe that Blockbuster next to their store doesn't exist anymore.
Right. Does that affect, I guess, I remember back in the heyday, it was really all about box art. Does that also change now how you look at the quality of movies?
Box art is still an important factor, but what's more important than any other factor is finding a film. So let's take, for example, you have a movie that starts with a letter Y. Sounds elementary, but let's say a movie that starts with a letter Y, and somebody goes to search through a list of films that are available for VOD or pay-per-view, and start with movies that start with A. So it'll take a while for somebody to get down to the movies that start with a Y. So almost being creative in the title of a movie to get your movies placed before others is an important factor. Even getting directly to the spot to click on the movie to rent or buy it is an important factor. And once you get there, you still need the compelling and exciting artwork, because if you don't have that and it looks drab, they're not going to click on it. So now it's find the customer, get the customer to the film, and then have the good artwork to make them click it, as opposed to walking by and they take it off the shelf of the store before. Now it's more of a how would you say it, a hunt and peck sort of game. You have to look for things. We have to identify the customer, say, Mr. Customer or Mrs. Customer, please come to this spot, now rent our film.
Now, that brings to mind one other thing. Now, you always had to battle piracy. How does that affect now when we talk about internet?
Piracy is rampant. Well, piracy is rampant, and it's not just rampant for us. It's rampant for every level of film. And now, when a movie opens theatrically, you can find that film online, available for free download. In some cases, subscription download. We found the other day a pirate out of China actually selling subscriptions to pay a monthly fee to download a certain amount of stolen movies. So piracy amazes me now. It's at levels that I've never seen before, and I don't honestly know how to stop it. But one thing we are doing, where other studios are talking about doing it, we've actively engaged a law firm already, and we're going after every illegal post of film that we find. We found our film posted somewhere illegally. We call our law firm. Our law firm serves them, and we're actively going after the internet providers and the carriers that support the pirates.
Right.
And what the results will be down the line, I can't tell you, but we're tackling it head on.
Now, at one time there was a flirtation on behalf of Maverick to really get into actually producing films. It was a nice run. Do you see or foresee that happening again in the future?
Well, it was more of a flirtation. Flirtation is when people talk about it and they don't do it. We talked about it and we made 18 movies. So the flirtation was that Lionsgate came to us, and I was always under the impression that they came to us in the early days before they knew how to deal with the urban business. they kind of set us up as a farm system, so to speak, and said, hey, let's test the waters of urban. This is before they did Tyler Perry. This is before they did Queen Latifah's The Cookout. This is before they did anything like that. So we made 18 films for Lionsgate at that point, and it was a fun run. And as you know, you and several other people worked with us on different projects. Production may be something that's in our cards down the line because as tastes and buyers change, so do the genres they're looking for, and a lot of times the genres they're looking for aren't readily available, so they have to go back into production at some point.
Okay. And then finally, looking to the future, the short-range future and also the long-term future, could you tell me about how it's going to, like right now I know you have many different Maverick companies. There's Maverick Platinum, Maverick Latin, you break it up into a different. How do you see your business model changing in the short run, the next 18 months, and also in the long run, the next 3 or 4 years?
Okay, well, Maverick there's really only one Maverick, but we have a lot of different identities, so to speak, and the identities are our labels. And we have the Platinum label, which is kind of a mainstream, bigger label with films that could have had a theatrical premiere on it. We have the horror label, Creep Effects. We have an erotic label called Desire. We have our standard urban product that comes out on the Maverick label because we're true to where we came from, and we started with urban films. We have the Latino product and so forth. We see those still having a viable part in our current plans and now and in the near future. But what other genres may come down the line are yet to be determined. But we still feel that no matter who the people that we're selling to are, if they're brick and mortar storefronts like a Blockbuster, or if they're a digital store like an iTunes, people still want to be entertained. People still want genres that work. They want niches that work. And we feel that we'll never get out of the niche business, so to speak. We're just going to have to go about educating people on how to find our niche films more than we did before. So I don't really see us straying too much from the genres that we currently release.
All right, cool. And just one last quick question. What do you think about that filmmaker, Greg Carter? Is he a bad mofo or what?
I don't know how it sounds when I say bad mofo, but he's probably bad mofo to the second power. I mean, he's like hyper bad mofo. No, he's a good guy. Let me say one thing about Greg is a survivor. He's been around. He knows how to play the game. He's been from the early days of video back to Fifth Ward to adapting and doing things now, trying to do television. He's had the movies with theatrical premieres. He's been a good guy and he's a survivor. And a lot of people in this industry talk about doing it, talk about surviving. Greg does it, and Greg survives. And he's somebody I always want to be in business with.